Our next speaker will appear by video. Laurie Wallach is Director of the Public Citizens Global Trade Watch. Public Citizen was founded by Ralph Nader and is a US consumer advocacy organization with many thousands of members and which has been advocating for fair trade for over 20 years. Ready to go?
Greetings from Washington, D.C. I'm Laurie Wallach, the Director of Public Citizens Global Trade Watch. We're sitting here in our office about 3 blocks from the U.S. Capitol, where the TPP is not very popular. I wanted to update everyone about the state of play. So even before our presidential election has really intensified what is a bipartisan trade revolt amongst the American public, the TPP was having a tough time in Congress. So the backstory is that fast-track trade authority for the TPP passed very narrowly. To pass something in the House of Representatives, which is where trade agreements and trade bills have a hard time, you need 218 votes. Fast track for TPP passed by 219 votes, so there wasn't a big margin to start with. And since then, members of Congress who voted for fast track, including some prominent Republicans, have come out against the TPP. Now, some of that is because they want even more bad stuff, but some of it is for things that no one is even trying to fix, like currency manipulation. The bottom line is right now, there is not a majority in the House of Representatives to pass the TPP, and that's the reason why the Obama administration hasn't put it forward. Fast track is a one-use tool. Once they start the vote, they start that clock for fast track, they've used up fast track for the TPP. So they won't even start a vote until they know they have the votes. And right now, they're probably about 20 to 25 votes in the whole, at least, in the House of Representatives. Now, add on top of that, the absolute pile-on that has been ongoing in our presidential campaigns. So for a very long time, when there were lots of candidates, basically anybody who was polling more than 5% in any state was against the TPP and was campaigning against it. But Bernie Sanders, and for that matter Donald Trump, have been critics of this kind of trade agreement, this model of trade agreement, for decades. So they have very long-standing, heartfelt, passionate opposition, and they've made this a centerpiece of their campaigns. This has pushed Clinton and Cruz and the other candidates into also taking opposition positions. But more importantly, what it's done is the polling in our country shows majorities of Democrats, Republicans, and independents, while they like the idea of trade, they oppose our trade agreements because they've lived with the bad results, and they particularly don't like the TPP. So now you've got candidates from all political persuasions very passionately, very vocally, every day, repeated times, basically articulating the very thing that the American public was already feeling in their gut. And what that has done is basically toxified the prospects for the TPP even further. So we thought we'd be having a floor fight in Congress at some point this summer on TPP. That's definitely not happening. There may or may not be what's called a lame duck post-election vote. That would be the only window in this year, in this Congress, that they could possibly try and do it. And timeline-wise, we'll have more of a sense of whether they even try that. There's mixed opinion about whether they'll try that. But that would be when they do it sometime after the November elections. And then as far as the prospects then, I think that certainly would be their best chance, but it's also still not a good chance. And particularly now you've got the presidential candidates starting to say things like, I don't want to vote in the lame duck session because I need to change that agreement. And as well, there are a lot of other factors, like, for instance, if a Democrat wins the presidency, then in all likelihood the Republicans will want to do our Supreme Court nominee vote because they'd rather have this conservative guy that Obama's nominated rather than let Clinton, for instance, nominate someone more progressive. So there are a lot of factors that make the prospects for the TPP pretty dim. And I just want to say a major reason why we're able to make that contribution to the global campaign is because of the really wonderful work folks in Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Chile, Peru, other countries did during the negotiations to stick to their guns, make their negotiators represent some fight back to the U.S. corporate-driven positions. So that now this fight is happening smack dab in the middle of a really wild presidential race, which is making it even harder to pass an agreement that had no love before the big bipartisan trade revolt. So that's the news from Washington. We're going to do our best as your partners over here to make sure that this thing doesn't get approved by Congress. And if we get past this lame duck session threat, then all bets are off for the next Congress in 2017, given we've got president candidates who say they would basically burn up the text and throw it away, and we have others who say they would renegotiate it. So either way, who the heck knows? We just have to get past this year and this Congress, and we've got a decent chance.